What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 3, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this NFL Thursday Showdown between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. So at the quarterback position, I like Jacoby Brissett from the Cleveland Browns playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Now, Jacoby Brissett has averaged 13.7 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 17 fantasy points last week. And what I like about this pick is he's averaging 5 rush attempts per game. So you got some rushing upside, and I do think he's a better quarterback. He's going to be about 50% owned, projected at 13.7 fantasy points here tonight. Although I think he can score 18 fantasy points or more in this one. He's 8,800 DraftKings salary. Compare that to Mitch Trubisky, who's 8,600 DraftKings salary. So for only 200 more, I think you get a better quarterback with rushing upside. Vegas thinks there's going to be 38.5 points scored in this game, with the Browns favored by 4.5. So I like Jacoby Brissett here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So the stud on the slate, he might be a little overpriced here, but take a look at Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, middle-of-the-pack defending opposing running backs. Nick Chubb has averaged 25.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 19.5 rush attempts per game and 2 pass targets per game. He scored 32 fantasy points last week off of 17 rush attempts and 3 pass targets. He's going to be about 57% owned, projected at 16.6 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can put up 20 plus fantasy points in this matchup. He is 12,000 DraftKings salary, so it looks like the most expensive player on the slate by a pretty big margin here. So I do think he's a little overpriced, to be honest with you guys. Now he's got that 30 plus fantasy point upside. He flashed it last game, but I wouldn't count on that, so it might be hard for him to hit value. But I still like Nick Chubb here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now if you're looking for a lower salary running back, you want to go with a Cleveland Browns back, take a look at Kareem Hunt from the Cleveland Browns. Kareem Hunt has averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 12 rush attempts per game and 3 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 38% owned, projected at 12.1 fantasy points here tonight. And he's only 7,600 DraftKings salary, so quite a big discount down from Nick Chubb. And Kareem Hunt put up 23 fantasy points in week 1, so he has that 20 plus fantasy point upside, lower ownership, lower salary. I think he makes a better tournament play here. So I like Kareem Hunt here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So the stud on the slate, you have Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Amari Cooper has averaged 16.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8 pass targets per game. Now, most of those fantasy points came last week, where he put up 28 fantasy points off of 10 pass targets. He's been on the field for 82% of the snaps, gonna be about 35% owned, projected at 12.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,400 DraftKings salary, explosive player, could make a great captain as well. So I like Amari Cooper here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now the stud on the slate for the Steelers is Deontay Johnson, and the Cleveland Browns, they have the 6th worst defense overall, give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Deontay Johnson has averaged 13.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 49% owned, and he's on the field for 84% of the snaps. He scored 14 and 13 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 10 and 12 pass targets, projected at 13.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,200 DraftKings salary, so I like Deontay Johnson here versus the Cleveland Browns.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. Our NBA tools are awesome. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the wide receiver position, I like Chase Claypool from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's got a great matchup here versus the Cleveland Browns. Chase Claypool has averaged 8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6 pass targets per game. He also is averaging 3 rush attempts, although all 6 of those rush attempts came from week 1, but it's nice to know that he has that rushing upside as well. And he's on the field for 92% of the snaps. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 9.9 fantasy points here tonight. So Chase Claypool is only 6,200 DraftKings salary. So I like Chase Claypool here versus the Cleveland Browns. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. I like Pat Furmuth from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now the Cleveland Browns are middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Pat Furmuth has averaged 12.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 33% owned, on the field for 85% of the snaps, projected at 10.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,000 DraftKings salary, and he scored 12 and 13 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks off of 7 and 10 pass targets. So I like Pat Furmuth here versus the Cleveland Browns. Now I also like David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns. Although the Pittsburgh Steelers have been pretty good here versus tight ends, David Njoku only averaging 4 fantasy points per game on the season off of 3 pass targets per game on average. But he has been on the field for 91% of the snaps, and he got 5 pass targets last game, so plenty of opportunity for him to score a touchdown here. He's projected at 7.7 fantasy points here tonight
only $5,200 DraftKings salary. So I think he is one of the better low salary options who's going to get some targets, could find the end zone. So I like David Njoku here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now the other low salary tight end option for the Cleveland Browns is Harrison Bryant. He's averaging 5.7 fantasy points per game on the season off of 4 pass targets per game. So he scored 8 and 4 fantasy points in the last 2 games, got 4 pass targets in each of those games. Now he is only on the field for 47% of the snaps, so I much prefer David Njoku for only $600 more. But if you do want to make a contrarian lineup, go with a lower owned player, guy that should get some pass targets and should get some opportunity here. You can take a look at Harrison Bryant here versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.